Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Future of Space. Today, we have two special guests. They're going to tell us about what they're going to be doing tomorrow. We have Malkawi. He's a Jordanian American entrepreneur. He's the founder and president of Borderless Labs. His mission is to create online educational STEAM content for underserved communities in multiple languages worldwide while bringing access to space by building science clubs, space camps, and analog astronaut experiences, again, for underserved communities. We also have Dr. Carlos Archilla. Katie is a pediatric anesthesiologist from Orlando in Florida. He's a veteran and former medical officer in the U.S. Navy. Having experienced periods of disability in the past, he is today advocating for disability inclusion in space tourism and exploration. Mac, Carlos, welcome to the future space.
It's a pleasure being here with you.
Pleasure being with you. Thanks for inviting us, Daniel.
Before we get into the reason why you're in Florida together, I want us to take a little moment to go through these two questions that I always ask my guests. So I want you to think a little bit, but not too hard. Give me 3 words to describe space.
For me, we'll describe space with the words freedom, capabilities, and peace. And when I speak about peace, it's not the peace among each other, but inner peace.
All right, Mike.
3 words. You said don't think, so I am thinking inspiration, exploration, and home.
Excellent. We'll make sure to put that into the comments so people can see them and read them. Now, give me the reason why going to space. Why? What is it going to bring to us, both to our species, but also for the planet?
Well, from my perspective, definitely I come from my ancestors were explorers, and I think human beings have basic needs in terms of food and shelter and family and love, but also we have also an intrinsic need to for arts and also an intrinsic need for exploration. It's just in our nature. So I think space exploration is just a manifestation of how we are as a human beings. And another, with one of the words that I used before is capabilities. Is going to space can develop capabilities, especially in my field as a scientist, physician, and somebody that is a researcher, is the possibilities and capabilities to do development of drugs, treatments, and maybe innovations for the medical field that we otherwise could not do here on the surface of the earth.
Mac, you want to chime in?
Absolutely. I'm just like we were talking earlier. I'm a geek. I'm a sci-fi fan, and I love it. I was inspired by science fiction of even the old 1960s and 70s science fiction and Star Trek, and just being inspired by what we consider today everyday technology. Back then, it was impossible. It was indistinguishable from magic. So the inspiration that young creative minds decided to become engineers and create reality, which what we thought was impossible to create, the magic at the time, that inspiration just reshaped humanity. And I believe that we can also continue to inspire the next generation to do that. And just like Carlos mentioned, we are explorers. There is nothing that really inspires me more than that hero's journey of the explorer. So the next frontier of exploration definitely has to be not just military boots on another celestial body, but the story of the explorer who not just climbed Everest or went to the poles, but actually went to space and discovered and changed, reshaped humanity because of that. So not just the discovery, but the inspiration that comes from beyond that is what I think can help continuously move our species forward.
Absolutely. Moving life forward. We're just the best ambassadors for life, and now we're about to take it to space. Now, Mac, you're a Star Trek. Carlos, are you a Star Trek or a Star Wars fan, or some other movie?
I would say both. Maybe Odyssey 2001. Uh, all of them have something in common. Is that it's the imagination of how the future may look like. And if you thought about when 2001 movie came out, I'm a movie person. It seemed to be so out of reach. Artificial intelligence speaking to the people in the capsule that was in space, and right now it's just a reality. So I think it's just our capability as humans to kind of think about what the future will look like and innovate to get there at some point in the near future.
Nice.
Absolutely. Kubrick was a genius like that. And not only was he, you don't have to be the aerospace systems engineer. You don't have to be that right stuff of the 1960s of Apollo. You can be like Kubrick or like Heinlein or Arthur C. Clarke who can inspire with your writing, with your pen, not just with your creation. And generations upon generations were inspired by that. So that's why my mission to create inspirational content that can inspire people who would never be inspired in their languages otherwise is definitely my mission. And hopefully, as we talk more about our experience tomorrow, it can be realized.
It's going to be interesting to see the next science fiction as we get to space. Now, that's no more science fiction, but what will be the next science fiction? Now, Mac, well, both of you, tomorrow, you're going on a zero gravity flight. Now, besides just the fun aspect of it, you're going to be there for specific reasons. Carlos, you're going to be doing an experiment that's never been done before, that is connected to the disability that you've been experiencing in the past. Can you tell us what is it that you're going to be doing?
Sure. So there are many people in the world. Right now, there's 80 million people that suffer glaucoma around the world. That number is going to increase about 100 million in the next decade. So glaucoma, for people that don't know, is an elevated pressures in your eyes. And something that we have seen in people that ophthalmologists and eye doctors is many people that go to space suffer or they have experienced some visual problems. Usually is when it's a prolonged stay in zero gravity, and they tend to resolve when they return back to normal gravity and the surface of the earth. So one of the things that I would like to do is this has been done before in healthy volunteers, which is a simple experiment. It's just a ton of pen like this. Essentially, what you do is to tap your eye 3 times and get an average of your pressure, and it's fairly accurate. Most of the ophthalmology offices, eye doctors, they use the same instrument. This has been done at least twice that I have been able to research. One by a South Korean astronaut. She was the first one to go to space for South Korea. And she did a measurement morning and evening and compared the pressure and found that the pressures in space or in zero gravity go about 10 to 20% higher than what is normal. Now, there was a group of German scientists that did the experiment with a larger pool of people, still a small group, again, healthy volunteers, and they saw a higher increase, somewhere with the 20 and 40% increase. The belief is that the body physiology changes in zero gravity, and we all know about that. And one of the things that they have seen in eyes is what we call flattened eye syndrome, which is the eye gets a little flattened, and that can distort the visual acuity in space. And also increase inflammation of the optic nerve and increase in pressures. It is believed that when you are in zero gravity, there's some pulling, so the fluid shift is more towards your head, not towards your body. When you are in zero gravity, gravity brings things down. So there is important, to look at this not only when I will be going to space in the near future and how my eyes will respond to zero gravity, but also opens the door for future research, for future treatment. It also opens the doors for 100 million potential space explorers that can actually participate in this experience.
And that's going to be so tomorrow's a first. It's never been done ever in zero gravity.
It's never been done by somebody with active disease in zero gravity. So this will be a historic first.
You must be looking forward, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. And then the zero G team has been fantastic. Kind of coordinating to do this in a safe way.
Now, what's going to be, so you're going to go up, the plane is going to go down, and then the gravity, the loss, well, it's not really the loss of gravity. The plane is falling with you. That gives you the feeling of zero gravity. You start to do the experiment. And so what will happen to the results once you go back to the ground?
So the results are more self-measurements. It's just for me to measure my response. This is not a part of a IRB approved study that we are looking different people and compare, healthy volunteers with people with active disease in multiple subjects, so we can actually publish something more scientific. This is a non-scientific experiment, but hopefully will be the beginning for us to kind of do more experiments in the future.
I see. So if there's a message to broadcast with the results, is there like a special target you would like would the next step be you want to organize just a full flight of people with the same disability so you can take multiple measurement? Would that be something that would be interesting?
Oh, absolutely. It will be very interesting. You think about 80 million people around the world with glaucoma. We're talking about a large number of people, and many of them would like to have this experience. So we want to have this experience of future space travel, either as a tourist or space exploration, and make it safe for them so we can actually have an idea what we already measure in healthy volunteers, but actually we have an idea what happens with people with active disease. We can design some treatments, some prevention, so they can participate on that, but at the same time being safe for their eyes.
Nice. This is going to be exciting. Now, Mac, you have a special guest tomorrow. Tell us about who you're going to be bringing with you and why this is so special.
I love the story of the hero's journey, and I'm not as cool as Carlos, so the best I can do is invite someone to make me look good. So the idea is to inspire a generation of people who would not have access to this kind of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, that STEAM education that I am so lucky to grow up watching Carl Sagan's Cosmos, watching all of these documentaries that inspired me to want to become a science-loving enthusiast. Unfortunately, there are so many languages out there that don't have access to that content in their native language. So I'm lucky that I speak English. That content exists in English. It does not exist in the or at least the quality that I'd like to see doesn't exist in. I come from the country of Jordan, so there's 500 million Arabic-speaking people who don't have access to that content. They have access to the original English content with 2 lines of translation at the bottom of the screen. And we've all seen foreign films, and how many foreign films can you watch over and over and over? And take that a step further. If I say the limit of your scientific knowledge is limited to those 2 lines of translation at the bottom of the screen, and even nowadays when it's evolved into dubbing in a different language, there's a lot lost in there. So there's 500 million Arabic-speaking people. There's over 1 billion Hindi-speaking people. 300 million Urdu-speaking people. 200 million Bengali-speaking people. So my scholarship tomorrow is beautiful, wonderful, talented, and smart science communicator from the country of Bangladesh who will be speaking and giving this kind of content, not just for the zero-G flight, but we're going to be filming a fighter jet experience and an acrobatic plane experience and hovering with a helicopter experience and hot air balloon experience, all different types of aviation science, and make that a continuous documentary in Urdu, Hindi, Bengali. I'll do the Arabic and we'll both do the English together. So for the first time in the history of those languages, a young girl in Bangladesh can see someone wearing a flight suit in zero G, hearing her own native language by someone who has a flag of Bangladesh on her shoulder and say, I can be a pilot one day. I can ride a helicopter one day. So that, oh God, if that happens, that'll be mission accomplished. So yeah, I'm not as cool as Carlos, so I have to inspire other people to do it, just through that kind of inspiration through involvement.
I disagree. He's a cool
Okay.
guy. And I already offered to
Going
do
to
a
say-
segment in Spanish so we can,
Yes, we did,
Yeah,
and,
so-
I'm glad you saw that the message resonated. So now the wonderful people of Puerto Rico can also get just as inspired by your story, not just the medical aspect of the story, but the inspiration in general.
And our stories are they might be different, but they have a lot of similarities. And essentially, what we're preparing is the future of space exploration that doesn't belong to this elite group of people that they're former pilots or people that train for many years. Now, as we're democratizing people going to be able to go to space through different companies are allowing that to happen. It's a reality today. I mean, 2021 was, a year that this just became a total reality, and there's more to come. So we want to be sure that we inspire, in his case, the younger generation from any part of the world, no matter what language you speak, to be sure that they have this kind of content in science and technology so they can be the future astronauts. So we need to inspire the younger generation. The same way I want to inspire people that feel that they have some limitations, disabilities, that the future of space actually also belongs to them.
Now, Mac, so tomorrow it's a young woman going up, and going through all these amazing experiences. Tell us a little bit about the process of how this young woman get to be obviously the lucky person tomorrow. But so did you have to actively search for? Was it a complicated process? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's an evolution of me and my business. At first, I just wanted a warm body that speaks that language, and I would give them that script, and it was going to be, I will produce, I'll direct, I'll write, and I just want a performer basically to do it. And boy, did I fail miserably. And I tried it in 2016, I tried it in 2018, and I realized that I need someone who understands the content. I need someone who understands space science and has the ability to travel so it's not just a matter of hiring an influencer in that language and say, here you go, have this experience, and that turn into, oh, everybody look, just admire me more as an influencer because of the great things that I'm doing, and their fans would be like, oh wow, you're so wonderful, and they end up speaking in English, like most influencers of those areas do. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me through Loretta Whiteside's Space Kind, to run into Esma, who is already in the space industry, already understands Mercury, Gemini, Apollos, and even the Soyuz, Vushkud, and Yuri Gagarin, the whole history of it, understands the science of it, is in the process of learning how to fly an airplane and do all that stuff for herself. So the conversation, you can see the passion in someone's eyes when they talk about that. So when they experience something like, today we did the helicopter experience around Kennedy Space Center, and the way she was talking to the helicopter pilot about the pitch and the yaw, and in terms I have no idea, what they're talking about, the foot pedals and how it's going up and how it's going down. And the helicopter pilot was loving it and explaining exactly how the aerodynamics of flight in a helicopter works. And for someone who's a pilot or has been around airplanes all your life, you hear the joke that helicopters don't fly. they're just so ugly that the ground repels them. So that's a pilot's joke you hear all your life, and then we heard it again today. But the just the passion of hearing that, and then being able to look at the camera and repeat that in all those languages, immediately that it's going to resonate with the recipients of that knowledge in those languages. So how do you do it? You fail and you fail and you fail, and then you finally realize there's no recipe you can make. You have to find the actual talent that has it all. So I can't create her; she was already there. I was just lucky enough to find her.
Now, your goal though
And just
is
to add,
to at one point make it possible for more scholarship individual to experience that, correct?
Yes, that's the goal. I mean, I've already, as I'm pitching this to other people, I'm getting, calls from journalists in the Baltics saying, we have all of these languages, even in Europe, from Romania and Hungary and Georgia and all of these countries that don't have access to this content, even though some of them are former Soviet Union and they're part of that history, but in their native language, they don't have these kinds of documentaries. And so I was surprised to see that, no, it's just a matter of English so we're in the infancy of this type of space exploration, at least for non-military use. And if we want millions of people to live and work in space, we have to inspire millions of people to want to become part of it. We have to be inclusive of all different diverse backgrounds, whether it has to do with disabilities or medical, or we don't know anything about. We're studying glaucoma. If people are going to go into space and they already have active glaucoma, and is it possible or is it not possible? We need to study it. So opening the door to that type of research is going to be amazing, and being able to give that experience and inspire, from my side of it, it's really inspiring people to want to be as cool and as inspirational as Carlos.
What's the
well,
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
think
Carlos.
what is important is what we're doing, which is there's tremendous power to see someone that looks like you, that is like you, that speaks like you, that to be represented in what we believe is the next generation of humanity, which is our exploration and our extension of our human presence in space. So it is very important what he's doing and what I'm doing, that everyone feels that there is a face that looks like them, that is actually there, because that opens the door for many possibilities.
Absolutely. Now, Mac, is there a website that people can go to and kind of learn more about Borderless Labs?
Yes, absolutely. Borderlesslabs.org. www.
And Carlos, is there anything online, or it's coming later after the results?
It will be coming later. I mean, I'm gonna be doing some social media posts. We're gonna be doing I will be doing other podcasts and some other feature stories. Again, this is the beginning of this mission to take it to the next level, this type of advocacy. And when I'm talking about my advocacy, it's about the whole movement of the diversity, equity, and inclusion. But when we talk about that, many companies, many organizations believe that this is just more in line of kind of racial, ethnic, gender diversity, LGBT diversity. So, but kind of get lost a little bit is the disability diversity and what people with disabilities can bring to any organization. And diversity is, as difficult as it may sound, it's something a little more attainable. But inclusion, it is a lot of work. It is definitely an action. And that's what I want to inspire people to do, to start acting so we can have a more inclusive society.
Wonderful. Now, tomorrow, you're going to go up in the zero G flight on board the Zero-G company that is based in Florida. We're gonna be catching up shortly after you get off the plane. So the important thing is to capture this kind of like adrenaline, still the experience. Really, we want to see your eyes and that kind of awesomeness that that the body will radiate. So we'll catch up on the experience then, and then a couple days later, once the dust has settled a little bit and all this information has been processed, we're gonna reconnect again, and we're gonna go through kind of the insight that you're left with. So I think we're all looking forward. I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow after the flight. Carlos, Mac, any words before we go and we let you on that flight tomorrow?
Well, we're very excited to be in this opportunity. We're both doing something very special that hope to inspire people. And thank you for the opportunity to kind of let people know about these stories. I mean, these stories need to be told, and we appreciate you being a vehicle for that.
Thank you for your podcast and for your platform and for allowing us to be a part of that platform and a part of this story.
Well, it's a pleasure. The work you do is inspiring, and I think the world needs to know. Like I said, with the future of space, we're trying to elevate the story to the human story. It's not just about rockets, but it's about everything that involves what it is to be humans and to live on this planet. So it's wellness, it's health, it's everything. And you guys fit exactly right in the middle of it. So I'm looking forward. Mac, Carlos, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you
Tomorrow,
Look
looking forward to showing you a wonderful follow-up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Future of Space, part 2 of our little interview with Carlos and Mac. They just came back from their flight with Zero-G, and yesterday we were talking about the experiments and the experience, and we have them, and we want to hear how it went. Carlos, Mac, welcome back. Tell us about the flight.
Thank you, Danny, for having us here today. The flight was phenomenal. We were like, for a few minutes, we were free. We were like children, and actually experienced, I think, exceeded our expectations.
And Mac,
Exceeding expectations is definitely the right word because, yeah, you're right. And behaving like children is definitely an understatement because it's been a childhood dream to have that feeling. And there are just so many eureka moments that just happened during that time that we just can't wait to share.
excellent. And Carlos, how did the experiment go? Was it flawless? Did you get what you wanted?
Yes, definitely I got what I wanted. Actually, very interesting. I have a very rare type of glaucoma, as we were discussing the last time. In top of that, glaucoma led to some cornea illness. I have had 3 set of cornea transplants after the first 2 were rejected. So I have a cornea transplant. That was another of my missions today, is advocate for people to do organ registration and organ donation. So we didn't know with my complexity of my eye illness how this will go. First, the staff was great to accommodate and to do this in a safe way. They had this planned from the beginning. I was able to measure the pressures in zero gravity for the first time. I'm the first time someone with active disease to do so in history. The pressures I expected were higher. There has been reported before 10 to 40%, so it was about 31%. And what was very interesting is as soon as we returned back to normal gravity, they normalized even a little bit even lower than the baseline that we recorded prior.
Wow. Well, that's going to be interesting to see further into it. Mac, how was your special guest with you?
Oh, absolutely. We definitely had the time of our life. I didn't want to ruin the experience for herself or myself to focus on the science and how the parabola works and how the plane is doing a nosedive and how what the pilot's doing, the technical aspect of it, just to force feed learning or force feed, science communication into it when what we what I should have done, and I'm glad I finally got to that point, is just go there and observe how we're going to behave, because we didn't know how we were going to behave or how we were going to feel, and then just build a story around it and let the voiceover work just let us explain in voiceover work, and just let the world see how the zero G flight was. I've seen people do zero G flights for years, and always wanted to do it. So now when you can mix that, what you've seen, with a feeling, oh, that's gold. And I'm sure she's already taking notes on how to convey that to those communities, and I hope they will be inspired.
Wonderful.
If I
So,
may add, with space tourism, there's two elements. Of course, the weightlessness, and of course, being able to see the curvature of the Earth. So it's interesting that 50% of the experience that someone will get from space tourism and space exploration, we were able to get today actually about 8 or 9 minutes of it. So I think it was just a wonderful experience for all of us.
was it because the plane dives? Do you like? Is there a moment where like suddenly your sense of safety like gets triggered because the plane's starts to go down and you start falling with the plane? Can you tell us a little bit about that moment?
For me, I don't. I wouldn't call it a sense of safety, because you don't know that the plane is diving unless you understand the mechanics of what's going on. You just feel heavy. The whole plane and your orientation of your body's looking in the same direction. You feel so heavy, twice your own weight, and then all of a sudden you feel lighter, and then all of a sudden you're floating. So you don't know that you're diving. You just know you're heavier, then you know you're lighter. Just when you go like on one of those new theme rides that you don't understand how they're making you feel that way. If they're spinning you or what. So geeks like us want to understand the mechanism of how they do that. But uh, if I didn't understand the mechanism, all I would know is that I'm heavier, then I'm lighter. So there's no sense of safety as much as there's a sense of it's weird, it's different, it takes you by surprise. They tell you that's going to happen, but the feeling, you can't prepare someone for a feeling. You prepare someone for an academic, this is what's going to happen. And of course, we joke around, and we were just talking about how they teach you not to swim. Don't flap and swim. Nothing's going to happen. You're just going to kick people. Guess what happens? Everyone is swimming and kicking, because you can't help but be in an unnatural position. So, yeah, there was no lack of feeling of safety or harness. It was just they did a good job making sure we had fun like that. But no, I thought I would feel something different, and I was totally blown away with what I felt.
Carlos, you have anything to add on this?
Yes, I mean it was extremely sudden. We had a debriefing session prior to the flight. Right before every element, there was definitely multiple coaches coaching us along. I wasn't expecting like in few seconds to say, okay, we're gonna be now almost 2G gravity going up, and then it is literally goes from 2G to 0G, and it's very sudden. And suddenly you're floating in the air, and you're trying to kind of find a way to say, how am I stay together in one place? But actually, it's not meant to be. You're just floating, and then you're moving around. But I had to say the element was there was a little bit of element of surprise, even if we knew I was coming, but how suddenly we go from normal gravity to 2 gravity to suddenly 0 gravity.
Beautiful. So I understand that we're going to be seeing each other again later this week, and at that moment, you're going to be able to explain a little bit. Well, we'll have some footage of what happened during the flight, and Carlos, you'll tell us a little bit more about the data. Mac, you're going to give us more, some of the footage and explain what happened, and kind of also the feeling that is staying with you after all these days, because now you guys just got off the plane. So I don't want to keep you longer. I know that like you want to go and kind of celebrate a little bit. So Mac, Carlos, so happy that you got to experience this flight. I'm looking forward to seeing the footage and then to sharing with the audience that kind of wisdom that stays with you from this amazing moment that you just experienced today.
Absolutely. I hope it doesn't. It's sinking in, but I hope that feeling doesn't go away.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to kind of think about the experience today and compare to the experience that other people with disability have experienced before, because today I really were able to not only experience that firsthand, but really relate to what they experienced before. It's something that we'll share a little bit more the next time we meet.
Excellent. Carlos, Mac, enjoy the rest of the day and we'll see you later this week. Bye.
Thank
See
you,
you later.
Daniel.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
Daniel.
us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third and final part of this amazing interview conversation with Mac and Carlos. So they went up on the zero G flight on Saturday. We're Monday now, so the adrenaline kind of had time to settle, and all this amazing experience kind of like get deeper into their subconscious, and now they're with us today, kind of to tell us what's left and what's the insights and what's next also. So Carlos, let's start with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I mean, I definitely over the past 48 hours, I have an opportunity to kind of think a little more about that. Mac has been in a kind of very active, doing a lot of thrilling things over the past 48 hours. In my case, I'm seeing a little bit more, kind of being more connected to my inner feelings of what the experience meant to me, and especially with the advocacy work that I did during the flight. And I think that's what I think was magic about space and space exploration. It can be exhilarating and thrilling in one side, and can evoke very deep emotion both in your heart and in your soul.
And what's next with some of the experiment that you did, and what are you planning to do to follow that up?
So we definitely saw that it was an increase of 30% in my pressures, and those pressures normalized within 2 minutes as soon as we were off zero gravity. So I'm seeing my physician team in April 4th, and then we're going to be discussing that. So one potential that we can do is maybe get some people like me to maybe do a special flight that we can do an experiment and see if this is something that we can replicate with other subjects.
Now, if people are listening and are like, I know someone who would like to go up, maybe is connected, has the same kind of um, disability, is there an email that we can put into the comment or a website that they can go so they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I mean, you can put my LinkedIn profile and LinkedIn address and my email address, and I will be more than happy to connect with anyone that would like to get additional information.
Wonderful. Mac, tell us about how the last 2 days have been for you, because I understand it that you were still going around with your filming team today. The adrenaline was still rushing high, and now you've had this experience 2 days ago. How are you feeling today?
Well, it doesn't matter what you're doing as a other uh, activity. You're still digesting, and you're finally starting to put into perspective the experience you did a couple of days ago. And I think nothing tops the zero G opportunity we did. My original intention of enjoying this as a thrill ride, enjoying this as an opportunity to feel like I'm in space, and that adrenaline was amazing at the time. But now that now that it's sinking in, and I'm remembering and reflecting and sleeping and dreaming and remembering of those opportunities, and communicating with Esma, the science communicator I brought with me, and just seeing the perspective that she had and the perspective that Carlos had made me reflect back and say, wow. And everyone says the same thing. It's the same experience that astronauts do or have when they experience the overview effect. I want everyone to feel this. I want everyone to experience this. You can't verbalize, that feeling. And it's not just a feeling of fun. It's the feeling of, for example, Esma, the science communicator. I'm tumbling and doing zero G, and I'm telling her about my experience and what's your favorite part. And she said, Mars gravity. The first parabola, just Mars gravity, because she all of a sudden stopped seeing the plane, stopped seeing everyone else bouncing around, and just mentally saw Mars and her as the first woman wearing a spacesuit. That's how it's going to feel. I am that person walking on Mars for the first time, and this is how it feels. This is training. This is preparation. This is, so that made me choke up a little bit just listening to her talk to it. Like, for her to have that perspective was really special to hear. And to answer your question, it's now we're starting, the experience is sinking in. We're starting to reflect back on how we can share this experience and how we can make a difference.
So what's next for her now? Is she left and going back into her own world, or is she still sticking around? And then you're going to be continuing this this time with her.
We already did our helicopter tour around Kennedy Space Center. We did our biplane ride. For us, for you guys, it's adventure seekers. That's probably nothing, but for us, it was a pretty special experience. And single engine biplane. And we did our zero G flight. This morning, we did our skydiving experience from 18,000 feet, which is the highest, I guess, legal skydive you can do, and the right over the Space Coast. And as we're falling, we're seeing the NASA Assembly Building. They were supposed to be rolling out the SLS at the same time, but that's been delayed, which is fine. Tomorrow, we will be doing other experiences in the Orlando area, indoor skydiving, and all of that with communicating the science behind all of that aviation. So, yes, you'll be learning more how to fly. We're going to be doing a glider experience and a hot air balloon ride, and explaining all the science behind it. And hopefully, in those languages, being able to inspire people to do it. So, we have another 3 more days of that, and wrapping up with the actual astronaut training experience of learning to do a mission to Mars and mission control, and doing all the amazing science content that hopefully inspire someone who never thought they can be in the space industry to say, I saw a show one day of seeing a woman like that. I never thought it could be me, and here I am in the space industry, being a part of the people living and working in space because I was inspired by people like Carlos or Esma or Daniel. Or so to me, it moves me to see that we can make this difference.
And for me, what's
I
next
think it's
is
fair to say
again,
that we're
yeah,
all moved by it.
yeah.
Carlos, go ahead.
No, I think when I'm thinking about what's next for me, definitely, I was ready before the flight to do go to space and do a suborbital flight with one of the space tourism companies, and now I'm definitely more ready. And I think the same way that Mac was describing about inspiring people that in his education, STEM education. In my case, is to inspire people that have disabilities or limitations that I don't want them to be defined by their disabilities or the limitations. I want them to know that they can do this too. And that no longer the sky is the limit. The limit is your ability to dream big.
I was very impressed with the signs. He had the vision to already know that up front, and already to know that he wanted to do that advocacy up front, and had the signs with him on the flight when I was just thinking about a thrill ride. And now that the experience is sinking in, I'm thinking about what kind of advocacy I can do. So I'm very impressed and honored to be with you, already having that vision ahead of time. So we're in great company.
Now, Carlos, all this, not Carlos, sorry, Mac, all this footage is going to be turned into a documentary, I understand.
Yes.
When and where can we expect to see the result? Is it, first of all, is it going to be in North America, or is it mostly going to be overseas?
It's mostly going to be overseas because we have an abundance of this already. When you talk to NASA outreach and STEM offices, they say we need to do more and we need to reach our youth and everything. And but there's still thousands of creators out there who are already doing that. If you look for the content, you will find it in English. So this content is being made in language that don't have it. So kids that would love to be space nerds just don't have access to that in their language if they look for it, unless they speak English. So starting off right now with this opportunity, you will, if you follow borderlesslabs.org, you'll see where it will be displayed as I move the business side of that forward. So right now I'm I can't sell something before making it I make a product and then I make it compelling, and then basically I can sell it to one of those either streaming services or television services that will be displaying it on their networks. And there are tons of networks there. I just can't name them until those contracts are finalized. But hopefully, it'll go to the right place where the right eyeballs will watch it.
And one of the things that I was talking with Mac about, I think the content that we have created and he will be creating over the next few days and few weeks can make a very nice full feature documentary. And I've been involved with the film industry, especially in the independent side, for 14 years. And my specialty is full feature documentaries. And I think this has the capability to be featured in one of those leading film festivals in the future once we have a finished products, and so the wider audience can get access to the mission that we're trying to describe and the advocacy that we want to advance.
And that would be really
Absolutely,
cool.
I agree. I agree.
I hope it'll
Um,
hold up to your standards.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm sure. I'm sure it will. Um, Before we go, obviously we want to kind of go over how was the zero G team going up on a plane and the entire experience. Would you, if you had a little card with like 0 to 10, how much would you recommend it to friends and families?
Absolutely 11. I think was just incredible experience. And I already kind of reached out to them today because they were able to accommodate the work that I needed to do, my advocacy work, experiment, making it in a way that it was that I can actually perform that, but actually I can do it in a safe way. So definitely, I mean, I could have done it without their support. So they have been incredible. And going back to the first question that you asked us, the three words that you define space. I think the zero G experience actually reminded me of all of them. The first one was freedom. Being in an environment that you're free, that I didn't think about what limitations I have or I may have, or what limitations other people in the flight had. The other word was capabilities. The fact that we can actually, as humans, be in a zero gravity environment and be capable of creating a home in that environment, the same way that we create a home in hot places or Antarctica and in cold places. We have the capability very quickly to adapt and create a home. And the other one was peace, and that inner peace that I felt. That's something really important happened during that flight. Advocating for people with disabilities and other of my advocacy work.
You said it right there. What we were talking about in the beginning. We want to share the experience. We want people to live it and feel it and experience it. And yes, we do want that. And I have to give credit to Asma for giving or for opening my eyes to her comment about that, saying why is this not a service offered in every airport around the world? I mean, this will change people's perspective of space travel, because skydiving now is offered in almost any city you go to. You'll find an opportunity skydiving. We just experienced that today, and now her fiance is like, okay, fine, I got to do that. After seeing I have to do that. And our photographer said the same thing. Yeah, I finally have to try skydiving. And we figured if there was more opportunity for people to experience zero G and it's available at every airport, then two things will happen. First, you'll have enough supply and demand for it to be affordable for everyone. Just skydiving wasn't affordable when I was young, and now zero G is not affordable to everyone else unless we give them a scholarship to do so. So hopefully, at some point, zero G can be as accessible as scuba diving or skydiving, and that'll help. Those things help shape aviation, and hopefully, this thing will help shape the public's acceptance and reception of space travel being normalized. So,
And if I may add, not only about the zero gravity experience, but we're talking about the space travel and space industry and the space tourism industry as a whole. I think, I have been lucky over the past few weeks to connect and informally communicate with some of the space tourism leaders. And they take very seriously accessibility of people with disabilities in the rockets, and they're working very hard to get there. I think what we need to do is get started. The earlier we start, the earliest we'll know what other things we need to do to improve that experience. So this is an experience for everyone, both the zero G experience, but also space tourism and space travel as a whole.
Mac, Carlos, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing us along on this amazing journey. Um, Mac, you're going to send us some footage, and then hopefully, as we end this video or throughout the video, there's going to be some clip. But hopefully, we're going to end this video by putting maybe some comments from your guest, how she felt. If you have someone on video, it would be wonderful to share it. Thank
wonderful.
you so much again. We'll have the comments in the comments the links so that they can reach you, Carlos, and you, Mac, depending of which cause that they feel it resonated with them. And if anyone's interested of experiencing what they went through, they just have to contact the Zero G website. The link would also be in the comment. Thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you. I'm planning to be in Florida soon, but I'll make sure to pin you before I do.
Okay, that would be great.
Absolutely wonderful.
That would be great.
See you for Yuri's night, hopefully.
And
Yes,
again,
absolutely. That's when I'm coming.
and
All
again,
right, bye,
thank you for
everyone.
this opportunity.